everyone, welcome back, hopefully, and welcome to another episode of You Okay Babe. We have realised that in the first episode I did introduce myself and my background, but we didn't introduce you two.
No, so completely forgot about us.
Please,
thank you, Kate.
So please go
self-absorbed.
I know. Sorry.
Would you like to go first, my lovely?
Yeah, I'll go first. Why not? So I'm Georgia. I'm 26. And my background is in marketing and media through my degree. But currently I'm just a bit of an administrative assistant in general practice.
No, you were general practitioner assistant.
It's exactly the same.
Or general practice assistant.
It's exactly.
You far no.
You are very important.
I feel like you're really underselling yourself there, Georgia.
Oh, thanks, babe.
You are literally the backbone of the general practice at the minute. You do everything.
I give you a girl at
You do now, literally. Georgia, Karen.
I'm high in demand.
Yeah.
We're high in demand. So, yeah, that's a bit of me. I've got a dog called Reggie who I love to go out with and get a bit of a wellness walk every now and again. Yeah.
I'm Summer, I'm 29 and I'm a nurse. Background is kind of, obviously I was a student, did placements, did a little bit of work in the hospice as a healthcare, which I absolutely loved, and hopefully I do find myself back in palliative care at some point because that's definitely my calling, I think. At the moment I'm in general practice and also loving that, and this is where I met these two lovely girls. Really nice. So I'm a practice nurse. I do the cervical screening, the babyums, obviously a little bit of admin as well. I feel like I do more than that. I can't.
You definitely do. You do
the
so
care
much.
plans.
Oh yeah,
You
I
do
the care
so
plans,
much.
but that's not a usual thing that I don't think many general practices do that. So I don't know what so I do go in and out the nursing homes in our area and see a lot of our elderly residents and just offer a little bit of support there as well, which I absolutely love. It's definitely my favourite part of the job. I'm ermine again.
We've all got different disciplines,
Basically, we've all got different disciplines, but we met at general practice, and that's how we know each other, isn't it? And,
yeah.
You're very mental health, and that's kind of your area that you bring a lot, so much for us. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? And my area is physical health,
And mine's no health.
You bring the personality.
Oh, thank you.
And you, like I said, you're well understanding yourself there. So
yeah.
But obviously it is around a passion for women, empowerment, just general, a lot of inspiring things throughout history, in psychology, healthcare, everything, every movement. So today we're going to be talking about inspirational women throughout history, women that have had an impact on us in some way. And now that you know a little bit more about our backgrounds and interests, it should make a little bit more sense as to why they've inspired us. So if you want to go first, we're going to do it chronologically.
Yeah, I think
we're
trying it chronologically.
Obviously, I just said that I was a nurse, so it just felt completely right to do Florence Nightingale. So Florence Nightingale, obviously, I learned a lot about in university, and that's kind of just where I got the interest. So when we went away and chose a woman, it was very easy for me to pick Florence Nightingale. So you may or may not know that Florence Nightingale was born in the 1820s. She was born in Italy, Florence. That's where she got her name from.
I didn't know
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why she's Florence Nightingale.
I honestly found this so interesting. I'm so excited to hear you talk about this.
She was born in a relatively wealthy family at the time. She had a sister. She lived obviously in Florence, but decided that she wanted to pursue her passion in nursing, which was actually forbidden by her mum and dad. At the time, nursing wasn't seen as the profession that it is today.
Oh, wow.
They kind of thought she could do better, didn't think that,
What?
Yeah. And that was just because they were a wealthy family and they felt that, that there was more that she could have done.
That shocked me so. Imagine.
Which is crazy.
Imagine saying that to Florence Nightingale.
Which is crazy because she's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And she has changed the face of nursing, literally as soon as she became a nurse. So when she was younger, when she was 13, she was already helping people. She just loved to serve others. There was a village next door to where she lived with her family where she'd go in and help the elderly. And she says in a lot of her writing that she quite quite, young, knew that she wanted to be a nurse and she wanted to serve others, and that was her calling almost. So I think that's, she's 13 and she already knew that she was
destined for like big things.
Such a vocation for her, clearly.
Yeah.
And that's, what the passion for nursing should be.
Yeah.
It's about caring for others.
So in 1850, she decided she was studying nursing. She went off to Dusseldorf, and that's where she got her nursing qualification, or what was believed as kind of qualification. I don't even know if it was a qualification at that time, because Florence Nightingale was the reason that we
I don't imagine it was readily available to go and study to become a nurse.
She was the reason.
I think studying in general for women probably wasn't that easy to access at the time.
Such a good point. And then in 1853, she finally got her first role in the Institute of Care of the Sick and Gentlemen in London, where she was a superintendent, which I believe is similar to what we would now say is a sister.
Yeah.
But obviously in different terms.
Was it a matron?
Yeah, like a matron of the hospital, which is already obviously a very high role in the hospital. I think it's incredible. But obviously the reason I chose Florence Nightingale was and the reason that she's famous is the Crimean War. So in the Crimean War, she decided to take 38 nurses with her to care for the wounded soldiers, and this is where she got the lovely nickname, the Lady with the Lamp, because obviously she had a little lamp and she used to go around to all the beds at night, because there was no lighting or anything like that. When she immediately got there, she realised that she was outraged by the standards of care because it was dirty, and there was a massively high mortality rate. Something like 38% of the soldiers were dying from things that could have been prevented, because and that's where infection control was born. So before that, there was no such thing really as infection control. We didn't really know about hand washing. We didn't know about cleanliness. It is Florence Nightingale.
Which feels ridiculous now, doesn't it? Just clinical practice now, it just feels so obvious that obviously you keep things hygienic and clean, and the fact that was so revolutionary at the time.
Yeah. That's what I said earlier when I was reading about it. I was like, but it just seems common sense to me now.
And that's giving me chills that it seems so common for us because of the work that she did.
Yeah, because of what
that's how we practice now. That's incredible.
I just think so. So she took these 38 nurses and she made massive changes to where they were being cared for, so that she said every room would to be cleaned and every nurse was to wash their hands, but between patients, after patients, and she almost halved the mortality rate of deaths, just from infection prevention controls. And that is when the hero that is Florence Nightingale was born, because she came back and then she was very much recognised then for being the hero that she was. She got a lot of funding then, and she created the Nightingale Foundation, which she got a lot of donations for, and that meant then that she could go on then to set up a school for nursing and make it a professionalism, like an actual profession that people could get involved in, and an actual standard of nursing. So that's when nursing started to be seen as a profession of a higher standard, I suppose, than it was before then.
It's recognised and respected.
Yeah, absolutely.
As it should be.
And she made it that way. And that was definitely
amazing.
from the hard work that she did. I mean, nursing is just part of what she is, because she was a massive writer. She did a lot of work after. She actually got ill I think it was around 38, and she was bedridden for the rest of her life.
Oh my God.
But that didn't stop her. She was writing and writing and writing from her bed. She, feminism, you know this probably better than I do, women's suffrage. I'm not
surprised she was a massive movement in that.
She was a massive movement in that.
You will find that a lot of women that you research in throughout history who had some impact, they're all part of that movement. It's so beautiful to see.
Yeah, because they all just came together, didn't they?
Of course,
and that's what made that ultimate big change. And it's sad to think that that all those years of her life, she didn't actually die till she was 90. So a lot of her life she was bedridden.
And the majority of her life,
But that didn't stop the changes that she made.
Yeah.
She wrote a lot of the standards for nursing that we still follow now. All the infection control, prevention that we use now, the hand washing is all from her. She was the one that identified that, and where would we be now if that wasn't? She was also the woman that identified, she had a lot to do with the designs of the hospitals, because she said that they were dingy and how could anybody get better in that environment? So she was the one that said they needed to have big windows to bring more light in. And it just seems like common, doesn't it?
Obviously, from
Bizarre.
my perspective of like in psychology and just having daylight, having clinical like bright lights, having window, having just that space. It like you say, it's obvious, but it wasn't obvious at the time. And the fact that she was recognising it and actively making changes is such a remarkable thing to do.
And she made such a point of that. If you see something that needs to be changed, change it.
Raise
and that's
it.
what she said.
Someone's got to.
Over and over, like she was happy to be the voice. She was happy to put herself out there in a time where women weren't listened to.
No.
And yet she made sure she was listened to, and she didn't stop, until she was 90 years of age, still writing the standards of care.
What a boss. What a boss, though.
So, to finish off my Florence Nightingale, and then we'll move on to yours, I thought it was definitely very important to finish with 10 lessons learned from Florence Nightingale's life. I am going to be reading from my notebooks, obviously I don't want to mince her words, and it's very important that I get it right. So, number 1, she said, never ever stop learning. Number 2,
I love that.
Ground yourself in your work in facts and evidence, and where she's pointed out, make your case indisputable, which I think is just really powerful.
That shows her fight for it as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then she's put, so everyone should do this, not just those who call themselves researchers, which I think that's
just in life.
Yeah.
Just do that.
So you don't have to, nobody's saying you have to be of a high education level, but just make yourself indisputable.
Oh, I love that.
I know. Muster the courage to follow your convictions, which is what she did over and over, and she proves that through all the choices that she made. Step beyond what you think you can do. Number 4, which really I think is amazing, because this is literally the bread and butter of nursing care. When you go to university, this is what you learn straight away, everything, and it's treat every person holistically.
Yes, so
emotional,
important.
Physical, spiritual. So I'm presuming Florence was the reason that we do that now.
Yeah, you can see that it's so beautiful to see that influence that is clearly in nursing practice now, and just that shared passion in nurses, but also just as humans.
Just as humans.
Yeah.
Number 5, know your strengths and know your weaknesses, which I will always say for any nurse is very important. You're not expected to know everything. You don't have to know everything. Put your hands up and say if you don't.
It's fair enough. Yeah.
Ask for help.
Absolutely.
We can't all know everything, and that's okay, isn't it? And she obviously had that view and opinion very, long before I came along. Number 6, so is use your network to accomplish what you think you might be unable to accomplish on your own, which is so important. Use your team.
Don't put the pressure on yourself to do it all.
You haven't got to do it on your own. You haven't got to take all the credit on your own.
But this thing, and I think that's really important, that it doesn't discredit you if you've had help, if you've used your support network. That doesn't mean, it doesn't devalue you at all. And I think you can, and I think definitely, as a young woman today, you can feel pressure, so much pressure to do it all yourself, and that idea of independence. But it doesn't mean that you can't use your network. That's empowering in itself.
And as well, like not only just in nursing, but in so many different professions, networking is huge. Like networking is such an amazing skill and opportunity to really be able to like pick the brains of other people and get a better understanding of something, in a wider view. So she's just
yeah.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
I honestly just love her. I might even have a little tattoo.
Carry on here first.
I just love her. I just think she's incredible. Like the fact that everything that I've learned about being a nurse is because of her. I just
resonates with everything that she taught.
I just find it so inspiring that she was just one woman and she knew her mission and she went out and she goddamn fought for it, didn't she? And yes, girl. Yes, queen. So number 7, speak and write often about lessons, learnings that you would like to share with others. Number 8, if you see something that needs to be changed, change it.
Yeah.
And Nightingale said, deed, not creed. And that was her little phrases that she used throughout a lot of her writing. Number 9, don't blame others for how things are if you are willing to change them yourself.
Okay, yeah.
Both. Love that. And you know what I find hard about that is I feel like we see a lot of that anyway. And even now in healthcare, I think there's a lot that needs to change. But it's having the courage to change it, isn't it? Or fight for a change. And where do you start with that?
That is not easy. It's not easy to be like, okay, well, what can I do about this? Because you can't control what everyone's doing about it.
And what
you can make
do as
those
one
changes.
Person?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But what I would always say is just because you don't think it's a big change, it could be.
Yeah. So
Small change
it's
can
got to
be big.
start somewhere, and if everyone thought like that, we'd have no movement. So all these changes and speaking and writing, it's really interesting that you say writing as well. I was watching a video this morning, and it was this doctor who was talking about historians have really struggled ever since we had telephone because it's like before the telephone, before video calls, everything was documented because everything was in writing. But since then, we've really struggled to like keep on top of research as much because it's all like
I never even would have thought
audio.
That's so true.
I know,
no
like,
letters or anything.
and to like keep facts as facts and like have them written how you wanted them to be written. It's great. Like that really.
I can't. Number 9, I just said that one, didn't I? Number 9. Number 10. This one is my favourite, and I think you'll agree. So it's keep your standards high, which seems very reasonable. But there's a little side note that was written in her note somewhere, which is lack of time, fatigue, and ambivalence all undermine high standards. Our patients deserve better.
Mm.
And
that actually made me like...
that shocks me, and actually I don't know why I feel a bit emotional saying it, but I do, because I feel like we're still at that point now. She raised this nearly 160, 70 years ago, however long it's been, and we are still at the same place in healthcare.
Yeah.
We are still lacking resources, time, and our patients do suffer for that, and how have we not changed anything in all of that time? She identified that then. We're still there now.
Yeah.
Everyone can resonate with that.
Yeah, and I think it's heartbreaking.
It is.
I think it's amazing that she'd already identified that such a long time ago, but...
Before the NHS was even formed.
Yeah.
And then now, we're still...
And now we have this incredible system that should be incredible, that unfortunately, and I'm happy to openly say, is letting people down.
Yeah.
And
it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
I could talk about
it's
it
heartbreaking that you can resonate with that point just so intensely.
Anyway, should we move on to the next one? Summarise emotional breakdown.
Okay, thank you so much. That was so interesting and so
really
insightful. And thank you to Florence Nightingale.
Yeah.
I've learnt a lot there.
I will be looking more into Florence, and hopefully we can come back and do a whole...
I'd love that, because I don't really know a lot about
There's so
her,
much more to say about
her.
her.
Show pet tortoise.
Did she?
Yeah.
I love that you know.
That should be a video on its own.
Florence and the Pet Tortoise.
Yeah, I know.
That'd be a great book.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Would you like to
David
introduce your lovely lady?
Yeah, okay. So, the lady that I'm sharing today is a lady called Josephine Butler, who was born in 1828. She married a gentleman called George Butler, who was a teacher. And it's lovely because George Butler was known for really supporting her through everything that she wanted to do. He supported her, knowing that it might be detriment to his role as a teacher. And I just think, wow, like,
and he was just
I just love that. So, Josephine was the daughter of a gentleman called John Gray, who was an agricultural reformer, and he helped to secure the passage of the first Reform Bill, which is supporting, well, they were, as a family, they were all very strong supporters of the anti-slavery campaign. So obviously from her upbringing, she was brought up around these really liberal thinkers and just incredible mindsets. And that showed in her later work and into her adulthood. Tragically, so I believe she had 3 sons and she had a daughter. Tragically, her daughter Eva, when she was around 5 or 6, died from falling from the top floor in their house. I cannot imagine that pain.
No, what she must have gone through.
And that grief and heartbreak. And I find it truly inspiring that after that, she obviously felt such intense pain and grief. She decided to put that pain into her work and into helping others. And in 1866, she moved to Liverpool, and there's a quote that says she was desperate to find pain that was keener than her own, and she was working with disadvantaged women. She was working to protect women. The most famous thing that she's known for, but not known for enough, is that she campaigned against the Contagious Diseases Act. The Contagious Diseases Act was in the late 1860s, and it was where police were detaining women that they thought to be prostitutes and were forcibly examining them for sexually transmitted diseases with speculum.
Oh my God.
This was because of the soldiers having transmitted sexually transmitted diseases, and it was becoming an issue for naval soldiers. So they, instead of the soldiers didn't do anything. They would that was what they wanted to do. Instead, they went into naval. I think it was 14 naval towns like Portsmouth.
Yeah.
And women who were there, were taken, were detained, were forcibly examined. If they refused to be forcibly examined, they were sent to prison and made to do hard labour.
Disgusting.
If it was found that they did have a sexually transmitted disease, they were then in a locked hospital. If they had to go in front of a magistrate as well. So basically, if they were questioned, there was some terrible consequence. Then there was just no escape from that. There was no protection. So,
oh my gosh.
Josephine Butler campaigned strongly against this. She was explaining how this is showing disgusting double standards between, so you've noticed that sexually transmitted diseases are an issue. You're not doing anything to prevent the men from spreading these diseases. You're detaining and punishing women, essentially. Yeah. She was part of the Ladies' National Association in 1896. She was part of lots and lots of different talks. In 1872, she was part of a talk in Pontefract, which she was talking in this barn, and the barn was set on fire. So when Josephine was doing these speeches and campaigns, it was at such a risk. Yeah. It wasn't easy for her to do. It wasn't easy for her to do as a woman. It wasn't easy for her to do as a liberal thinker. It wasn't easy for her to stand up against, and have these conversations with MPs and with the government and change legislation, change laws and change acts. It wasn't easy for her to do. No, she was being campaigned against. There was research I was looking into. She was staying at hotels under a false name because people weren't happy with what she was saying. And she was there's something that she did. She did a talk for young men, explaining the dangers of dangerous sexual behaviours, and she was trying to offer education. It was just amazing what she was doing. Yeah, incredible. It was amazing what she was doing.
Enough about it, which...
And she did manage to get the Contagious Diseases Act abolished from what she did, from the work that she did.
That's incredible.
Which was just incredible. Hold on, I have more.
Keep going.
So in 1885, Josephine was involved in the campaign against child prostitution, which is the reason that today the consent age is 16. Before this, it was 13.
That's great.
Oh my gosh, it's scary.
It's just disgusting, isn't it? Yeah.
It's scary to think that it used to be so low.
Yeah.
So what year was that then?
1885 that was. So in the early 1870s, she was doing a lot of speeches in front of audiences about disadvantages of uncontrolled sexuality. Again, George really supported with all of this, which was just
that's fantastic.
Yeah, in his role, he was a teacher, and he knew that it would affect his role as a teacher, but he just supported his wife so much in what she was doing and what she stood for. That makes me emotional.
Yeah, he just loved her, didn't he?
Yeah, and unfortunately he died from a long-term illness in 1890, so she spent 16 years in widowhood. She really struggled to find a stable home then for her and her boys, but that didn't stop her. She wrote more than ever, similar to Florence Nightingale. Yeah. She wrote more than ever. She conducted more campaigns, and there's evidence for campaigns against Contagious Diseases Act in India. So she didn't stop in England. Her sister was in France, and she was working towards protecting women in brothels and in prostitution in France as well. So she just didn't stop. You can just see a passion, and I think what inspires me so much is that clearly came from it came from her upbringing, it came from her passions anyway, but the fact that she experienced something so tragic, to lose her child, to lose her daughter, and she turned that grief is something, it's a whole lot of love and passion, but you've got nowhere to put it now. obviously she lost a daughter, to turn that and to do something so incredible and remarkable is truly inspiring.
She turned it into something good, didn't she?
So I'm sure there's a lot more that she did in her life. She passed in 1906 and she was buried back in Northumberland, which is where she was born. So just thank you to her. Yeah. She's just incredible.
She's changed a lot though, hasn't she? And like you say, that's probably one of those things that isn't talked about enough because, you know, I didn't know.
I didn't know who she was until I started researching and was looking at remarkable women and women who changed things, women who were influential in government and changing just the way things are, and we can see that from today. I had no idea who she was. Josephine Butler has not been mentioned to me in any school, in any history, in any museum.
Why is it we don't learn about these important people in history or school?
So what do you think?
She is really good, and I think it's fantastic, like, that considering that everything was against her, and she was really going out of there and offering a completely different point of view, and she was getting like knocked constantly, that she carried on fighting for it. And I just think that's so inspiring
to have that strength to go against everyone,
the police,
to go against people that believe in this. Like, imagine trying to do that. Like,
it's so scary. Like, what you're putting yourself in such danger. Like I say, that she will have been campaigned against. The barn was set on fire where she was doing a tour for education. Like, people were against her, and she just carried on because she was so passionate and she cared so much about the rights and welfare of women and everyone. You know, it wasn't because it wasn't that she was only protecting women; she was then educating men. It was just. I just think she's incredible.
And
I'm so glad you chose to spoke about her, actually, because that's
because I really had no idea who she was at all.
No,
what a woman!
Yes, Jo.
It's nice to know that there's two fantastic women that have completely
and
influenced
we're just scratching. We're just scratching.
Oh my gosh!
There's so many out there I could have spoke about, and it's hard to choose just one. I think maybe we need to do it more often.
We do want to talk about Edith Cavell.
Yes.
Let's bring her up as well.
We can't not mention Edith Cavell, can we? Mm-hmm. Do you want to give us a little rundown?
Well, I didn't know who Edith Cavell was until I went to Norwich this year, actually, and I saw a statue of her, and I'm just a bit of a... a bit of a geek. I'll just go and read things. So there's a statue of Edith Cavell in Norwich, and there's things that are named after her, and there's this plaque that explained who she was. So it was around a similar sort of time, wasn't it? It was the 1800s.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So she practiced as a nurse, nursing soldiers in the war, and what she was practicing was to treat everybody fairly. Yeah. She strongly believed in that.
Race.
No. So in terms of where there was French soldiers and British soldiers, she wanted to protect them and care for them. So she was hiding them to keep them alive, to keep them well. Mm-hmm. And so once that was found out by the military, she was killed.
She was assassinated.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in 1915. Mm-hmm. So she was helping everyone, German, Allied soldiers.
Which again is such a remarkable act of bravery and selflessness and care and compassion.
She knew she was going to be killed for her acts. But even when they asked about it, she didn't care.
Yeah.
She literally said, patriotism, am I saying that right? Is not enough. I must have no hatred or bitterness towards anyone.
So Edith Cavell did some writings before she'd died, basically saying that she doesn't feel as though she's acted in an unjust way. No. That she truly cares and feels as though everyone should be treated equally.
So there was a little saying that I've just literally found, and it was, nothing but physical impossibility, lack of space and money would make me close my doors to Allied refugees. Mm-hmm. Which I just think is incredible that she and that's off the back of her saying, I have no fear nor shrinking. I have seen death so often that it is not strange or fearful to me. It's almost like she weren't afraid to.
She knew she was going to be killed. Florence Nightingale, Josephine Butler, Edith Cavell, remarkable women.
Absolutely. Incredible. Completely changed history.
And please go and look them up and research more, because there is so much more that they did that we couldn't fit all in the podcast, would we? but it does give you food for thought, and it makes you think, well, what can we do as just single human beings
to make a change, to make a difference, a positive recognition. And it's so impactful how much it resonates with today.
Yeah.
And how far we've come and what we can do to make those differences.
Just got to keep moving forward, haven't we?
And it is difficult, I suppose, if you're a single person and you have an idea, or you have, a dream, so to speak. These women, they literally did this by themselves. They thought for change. They went for it. They didn't think about what the consequences would be
and what other people thought of them.
Yeah, they just
Cavell literally got executed.
Yeah,
and she knew, she fought that fight, and she knew what was possibly going to happen to her, but she just wanted to do the right thing.
And it's nice to know that now her memory lives on, and people can recognise her for what an amazing woman she was.
And that's why I'm glad we get to speak about them.
Yeah, definitely.
And there will be more that I feel like we can go away and research.
It's so interesting. Thank you so much.
No, and thank you for bringing Josephine Butler, because I honestly didn't know anything about Josephine Butler.
Yeah.
Shall we wrap it up and say you okay, babe?
You okay, babe? And also, there's very, a lot of inspiring women in our lives.
Absolutely.
That not only inspiring women throughout history, inspiring women in our lives that we know, that we love, that we care for, people that we meet, like you say, networking. So important. You'll just meet people throughout your life who are doing remarkable things. Tell them.
Yeah.
Tell them that they're doing an amazing job, that they're incredible, that they're making a difference. Whatever you can do, and notice what other people are doing, do it.
Yeah.
But check in with yourself and make sure you're okay.
Always.
And your friends and your family.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Love you all.
Thank you.